anchovy season, which lasts from March to June, is not just a simple fishing season but a celebration of centuries-old traditions, passion for the sea and the dedication of generations of fishermen. The fishing season begins when anchovies, making their annual migration to spawn near the coast, bring with them a unique sight. As they approach the coast, large schools of fish emerge from the ocean's depths to the surface, making them easier to catch with seine nets. Anchovies caught during this period are considered high quality due to their freshness and optimal fat content. The anchovy season, which lasts from March to June, is not just a simple fishing season but also a celebration of centuries-old traditions, passion for the sea and the dedication of generations of fishermen. On arid land, the market receives each load of fresh anchovies, ready to be turned into truly delicious dishes. This is where the art of anchovies comes into play, the true guardians of tradition, whose meticulous and careful work gives life to one of the most precious delicacies in the culinary world. Their boats and fishermen march at dawn to confront the wild sea with its nets, ignorant of human laws. On land, workers work tirelessly, selecting, cleaning and preparing anchovies with the same care and dedication as their ancestors. Their work is not only a source of sustenance for their families, but also a symbol of Santonia's identity and traditions. Let's go back to the origins. Anchovies are a blue fish that is relatively abundant on the Cantabrian coast, although it travels through many seas around the world and is especially delicious between April and June, when they are concentrated in sea. Surface for reproduction and reproduction. It moves in schools and usually lives at depths of about 100 meters, although in spring, when water temperatures are warmer, it floats to the surface. It typically feeds on plankton, krill larvae, and small crustaceans. By the way, the names bocart and boquerone come from the large size of its mouth relative to its body, but it doesn't have an easy life. Because it is a delicacy for large species, fish are abundant at that depth. Even so, they are abundant. In fact, the quota marking the anchovy coast in 2021 is 26,637 tons, about 2,000 tons less than in 2020. Of which about 150 per seine vessels have sustainable fishing certificates and about 1,400 fishermen. Anchovies are caught using the per seine technique, the same technique used to catch mackerel, which involves a large tubular net into which large schools of anchovies are released. At the appropriate moment, the net is closed at the bottom, forming a bag, and is taken on board the ship for quick storage in boxes suitably cooled with ice, so that they arrive at the port in the best condition. Maybe. Anchovies, along with sardines and horse mackerel, are the three most consumed blue fish in the country.
Proses mereka mencari menggunakan power blow.
The operation will be extended until the total maximum allowable catch limit of 2,780,000 tons is reached in the north-central Peru region. The Ministry of Production has authorized, as of November 12, the start of the second fishing season of 2020 for anchovy, Engraulidae ringens, and white anchovy, Anchovies, stocks for indirect consumption. For human, the license covers fishing in the north-central region of the country, and will be extended until the total allowable maximum catch limit of 2,780,000 tons of the said resource is reached for cockroach consumption forward to humans. In the event that each vessel's assigned catch reaches its maximum limit, they shall suspend fishing operations without prejudice to the establishment of administrative or criminal liability on the part of the owners of the vessels. Carry out exploitation output exceeding the assigned level. The resolution also stipulates that fish meal and fish oil processing activities must have a current license, as well as have signed agreements and contracts established within the framework of the Supervision and Control Program. Control control of fisheries and aquaculture activities. National level. Regulations prohibit receiving and processing aquatic resources from vessels without fishing licenses, including vessels without maximum fishing limits assigned to the North Central region, vessels whose licenses have been suspended, vessels authorized to exploit other resources and even craft operations, and smaller scales. This resolution also prohibits the exploitation and processing of anchovy samples smaller than current regulations, allowing a maximum error of 10% based on the number of samples. When samples of juvenile anchovies and white anchovies are harvested at a rate greater than 10% of a given port's daily landings, fishing operations will be suspended for a minimum period of 3 consecutive days. Canned and salted anchovies are caught in the Bay of Biscay by local boats with traditional and sustainable fishing gear, only in spring, when the anchovies come to spawn on the coast. Both catching and subsequent handling must be done carefully to avoid any damage to the anchovies at source. To maintain that quality and the product is always in perfect condition, ensuring maximum quality. This ensures that the fish is fresh when salted. That's the next step, soaking the anchovies in salt for about an hour, then beheading and removing the internal organs, a job that almost every woman does. Once clean, it is put back in salt into a vat or barrel to perfectly place the fish. This requires skill accumulated over the years, performing this process in which salt is added to the fish rice and they are left to be placed in separate layers with the same salt, as quickly as possible so that the anchovies retain their whiteness and characteristic texture. They are pressed with weights and kept in this way for at least 6 or 8 months for the anchovies to mature. This process can vary as it depends on temperature, but it is constantly monitored by the salt master, regularly adding salt levels and checking that everything is okay. A very meticulous job. The same thing happens with anchovies as well as wine. The longer it sits, the better it tastes. During the entire process, top quality elements are used, i.e. brine is obtained from natural streams and salt is properly dried at source so as not to add any impurities or tonic flavors which some. For smoked products, native wood is used, harvested according to the harvesting season with appropriate controls and licenses, ensuring the sustainability of the forest. Furthermore, when processing smoked products, they do not use any chemicals to create flavor but only smoke with natural wood smoke. All of their products are completely natural. They use no additives or preservatives. When the optimal ripening moment arrives, the containers containing the anchovies are opened and the salt removed, resulting in a compact mass that is separated with great care and attention. The skin is removed from each anchovy and the drying process begins. After going through this drying process, the anchovies are meticulously filleted by artisans' hands. The skin is shaved, the loin, tail and part of the bone is separated. After washing and drying, the best things are removed and ready to be placed into jars and cans, which will be their final packaging. After filling each container, they are filled with the finest oil until completely covered and thus maintaining their texture and softness. Years of testing and perfecting took place until they found the best possible balance between the flavor of anchovies and the flavor of extra virgin olive oil. Finally, they go through the sealing and labeling process, leaving the Cantabrian anchovies ready for purchase and enjoyment. The way to prepare anchovies in vinegar is very different from anchovies. Nard and pickled anchovies are made from Cantabrian anchovies caught in the Bay of Biscay by local boats with traditional and sustainable fishing gear, only seasonally. Both catching and subsequent handling must be done carefully to avoid any damage to the anchovies at source. Upon arrival, the fish is cleaned and prepared by expert hands, doing this process as quickly as possible so that the anchovies maintain their characteristic whiteness and texture. Fresh anchovies are beheaded, gutted, cleaned and then placed in a soaking tub to soak in a mixture of vinegar and water, until the desired marinade is reached and its characteristic white color is achieved. They are then seasoned and marinated with a special secret vinaigrette recipe that we have lovingly kept from generation to generation, giving them a delicate vinegar flavor seasoned with sunflower oil. Blessed for a better balance of flavors to enhance the flavor of the fish. Anchovies are a healthy and easy to consume food. Because of their versatility, they can perform different functions when fed to us, from simple side dishes, for example salads, to skewers and more complex dishes, where they will be a real treat. Protagonist. Anchovies are blue fish and therefore fatty, although they only have about 6 grams of fat per 100 grams of edible portion. Sardines, tuna or salmon. Portugal's seine fishing fleet of around 130 vessels is responsible for 98% of the sardine catch, with the remaining percentage going to methods such as Zavega fishing gear and gill nets. Too scared, thousands of sardines tried to escape the increasingly tight grip of the deadly man. The exploration of the fishing vessel Mario Luis identified a school of horse mackerel weighing several tons, promising to ensure the fishermen's livelihood that week. However, the crew was surprised by sardines instead. Dismissed immediately, they were spared because it was a closed season. Despite needed improvements in larval farming, sardines have shown researchers to reproduce and grow healthily through consumption of aquaculture feed. A baby mackerel, a species that could potentially save sardines, if it serves as a replacement catch at certain times of the year, swims in sync with the jellyfish, sheltering inside it during photography. Come closer. A new era that begins in the relationship between coastal communities and marine resources, and especially sardines. Low temperatures, high salinity, available oxygen and abundant nutrients allow these waters to teem with phytoplankton and zooplankton, the preferred prey of many pelagic fish species. From the surface to a depth of 100 meters, huge schools of sardines dominate the continental shelf, sometimes exceeding an incredible weight of tens of tons and equivalent to the area of a football field. Salt presses and sardines are some of the best examples. These conservation techniques, linked to the existence of salt, have allowed for the proliferation of a valuable natural resource that even today remains very much present in the culinary and popular culture of the current descendants of these cultures. Sardines in quantity. In 2015, 13,729 tons of sardines were traded at auction, of which 13,690 tons were on the continent, the lowest amount because of systematic statistical records by species, with the average price of auction transactions being high most in the past 20 years. Like all treasures, sardines also need care and protection. However, the turmoil of recent decades has raised alarm bells in the scientific community. Early morning at sea. A group of men ventured among tons of fish. But are the days of this abundance truly numbered? Our journey to find answers began in the north of the country. In Vigier de Lazare, Pará, we embarked on a deep-sea fishing trip. We follow the fisherman's journey. Boats set off along the Pará River to meet the Atlantic Ocean. The distance between one bank and the other at the mouth of the river is 60 kilometers. They stayed at sea for up to 90 days. Industrial fishing boats can hold 40 tons of fish. The captain's cabin is well equipped. There is even sonar to locate schools of fish. Modern equipment helps a lot. Industrial fishing is carried out using 2 boats. The nets are strung together with a system of pulleys and steel cables. It's called fishing. To do this, the second ship always accompanies the other ship. For those accustomed to living on land, a Accommodation on the boat is modest, 2 cabins with bunk beds, a small bathroom and kitchen, where Mario is in charge. At the age of 60, in addition to fishing, he is also a good chef. Prepare at least 4 meals a day: fish, chicken, red meat. He said he accidentally became a chef more than 20 years ago. The beauty of the sunset signaled that our first night at sea was about to begin. Soon we will cross the imaginary equator. It is on the other side of the world, a little away from the border, that the region's major shoals are concentrated. To see how fishermen cross the sea, we approach the equator, leave the southern hemisphere and enter the northern hemisphere. Once we reached the northern hemisphere, the fishing began. We arrived at the fishing area at dawn, said Commander Jose Ramos de Silva. At about 8 a.m., we let out our nets. The sunrise soon coincided with an extremely tense moment on the boat. The fishermen cast their nets first. Each person takes on his or her own position and tasks. After launching, the 2 boats approached each other. The net will be pulled by both vessels at the same time, one next to the other. During maneuvers, communication between boats is carried out by means of horns. All are under the guidance of the commander. He is the one who decides the fishing location, time to release and collect the net. The net is about 35 meters long, said the captain. But underwater, it is from 14 to 16 meters long, depending on the opening of the 2 ships, because the net is 400 meters behind the boat. After 2 hours of pulling the net, all crew members participate in the activity. The net appeared, was lifted onto the deck by a crane and opened. A school of stingrays were caught. Until 4 years ago, they were returned to the sea, because they had no market value. Today, they are consumed mainly in the northeast region and also in European countries such as France and Spain. The fishermen started the work of separating fish. At this point, you can't be too careful. Stingrays have stingers in their tails. The stings are very painful and may become inflamed. So the first thing to do is remove the stinger. Only then were they sent to Luis Valdesa, the glacier, responsible for preserving the fish. The boat is capable of holding 40 tons of ice. Almost every fisherman has scars from stingrays and wounds from other fish. Seu Mario was on sick leave for 6 months. One of the times he was attacked by one of them. Of course, not everything is entertainment. But without games, what would the journey of these men who are always on the brink of danger be like? Barbecue time. And it happened right there, in the middle of the deck. That's butter, grilled fish on a charcoal stove. Fisherman's party. Seu Mario provides the garnishes, farofa, rice, vegetables. And we all ate right there. All around, everywhere we look, we only see sky and sea. We continued heading north. On the way, we met 2 fishing boats pulling nets. One of them caught a grouper. Grouper fishing is banned throughout Brazil to preserve the species. On our boat, the fishing chef was preparing the next meal. On the train, schedules vary. Fishermen sleep, or more accurately, rest, during the time between casting one net and another. And food is only created when hunger appears. Mr. Mario chose a yellow cod. After lunch, work continued. Who has time to be overwhelmed by beauty? The government announced the sardine fishery will reopen this Thursday, but with some daily limits and maximum discharge values along with siege equipment of the Portuguese fleet for the year. Now it is 29,560 tons. The sardine fishery is reopened from 0 o'clock hours on May 2, 2024. said the order signed by the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, José Manuel Fernández, published today in Diario de República. The global limit for purse seine catch this year is 29,560 tons. However, the government also established some daily limits on the unloading and sale of sardines. For ships with an overall length of 9 meters or less, the limit is 2,700 kilograms, kg, or 120 baskets, as applicable. Vessels longer than 9 meters and less than 16 meters have a maximum tonnage of 6,750 kilograms or 300 baskets. On national holidays, catching, keeping on board, unloading or selling sardines is prohibited. Transferring another auction from an auction corresponding to the port of discharge is also prohibited, as is the case where a ship may discharge its cargo at more than one port per day. Sardine fishing is jointly managed by Portugal and Spain, following a multi-year plan for the period 2021 to 2026. In 2024, the fishing campaign predicts a catch limit of 44,450 tons, with Portugal responsible for producing 66.5% of this.